Hello, dear class 7 students. Welcome back. So, today we have few topics left in lesson 6, physical and chemical change. So, we will continue with that. Okay. So, now the topics which are left in this lesson 6 are rusting of iron and crystallization. So, first let's discuss about rusting of iron. Now, students, I'm sure you are familiar with iron getting rust, metal getting rust, right? But students, it is a huge loss for a country. Okay. Now, because iron, it is very important. It is very important because now, from the construction of road to making cars or machine or utensils at home, we need iron, we need metal, right? So students, we should know and apply how to prevent iron from getting rust. Now, how do iron get rust? Let's see. Now students, when iron is exposed to air, okay, when iron is exposed to air, it reacts, okay. Now in the atmosphere, there are moistures present, right? There are moistures present. So when iron is exposed to air, it reacts with oxygen, it reacts with the water vapor, moisture present in the air, and as a result, it gets rust. Okay, so let's see here. So students, see here, we have an iron nail here, right? So it reacts with oxygen here, air, and also water vapor present in the atmosphere. And as a result, iron get rust. Okay, so students, this equation we can write in this form. Oxygen, air, we can write O2. Okay, O2 reacts with iron. Iron we represent as Fe. Okay, Fe. And then we also have water. Because in the atmosphere there are moisture present, right? There are water vapor present. So we have water H2O. As a result, iron get rust. So we have Fe2O3. Okay, students? So you can note down this chemical equation. So students, from here we know what is the chemical formula of rust, right? So this is a very simple equation. Here we see iron, and then oxygen, and then water results in the formation of rust. Okay? Now students, the most important thing, how can we prevent this iron rusting? How can we prevent this? So students, the first step to prevent rusting is by painting. Okay? So painting, we just don't paint because to make it look good, okay? But we painting is done in iron to prevent it from getting rust, okay? So this is how painting is done. Now, second, greasing is also done, okay? Greasing is done in this form to prevent rusting, okay? So painting is done, greasing is done to prevent rusting. And now the third most important is galvanization. Okay, galvanization. You can have a look. You are familiar with this picture, right, students? So this is galvanization. Now, what do you mean by galvanization? So students, galvanization means depositing, okay? Depositing a layer of zinc in iron, okay? So we are familiar with this one, right? So students, here the outside, the layer outside, it looks a shiny coated, right? So here, actually here, what we see that here, a layer of zinc has been deposited here, okay? So students, deposition of zinc, okay? Deposition of zinc here. It is also known as galvanization. And this is also one of the methods to prevent rusting, galvanization. Okay, so students, we have seen 3 steps to prevent iron rusting, right? The first one is painting, the second is greasing, and the third is galvanization. Okay, now students, our last topic for this chapter is crystallization. Now, crystallization, it is the form, okay? It is a form, or it is to obtain a large amount of crystal from its own solution, okay? Obtaining a large amount of crystal from its own solution. In our last class, I have shown you a copper sulfate, right? A copper sulfate salt, which is also known as blue vitriol, right? So how do we obtain that crystal? How do we obtain this crystal? So students, it is very simple, okay? So what we can do is we can boil a water, okay? And then we can put a little bit of, drops of sulfuric acid, and then we'll wait, okay? We'll wait, and then when it boils, when it starts to boil, we'll put a copper sulfate salt, okay? We'll put copper sulfate salt until no more copper sulfate salt is able to dissolve, okay? So we'll put more and more copper sulfate salt, and then after that we'll allow it to cool, okay? And then we'll do filtration, and after that we'll see this crystal, okay? When it cools, we will see this crystal. So this is how we get this crystal, okay? So crystallization, in a very simple word, it is obtaining a large amount of crystal from its own solution. So students, that is all for this chapter. Today we have from this chapter we have discussed about rusting of iron, how to prevent rusting of iron, and crystallization. Okay? So students, these are some important keywords from this chapter. Okay? So we have a chemical change, right? And then we have crystallization. We have physical change. We have a chemical reaction. We have galvanization, and then rusting. So very quickly, chemical change means it is a change where we get a new substance, right? Where we get one or more new substance. Crystallization, it is obtaining a large amount of crystal from its own solution. And physical change, it is a change where no new substance are formed, right? We just see a change in physical property, such as size, shape, state, right? And a chemical reaction, right? A chemical reaction, we have seen it is a reaction where a new substance are formed, right? Now galvanization, it is depositing a layer of zinc in a metal, in an iron, right? To prevent rusting. Now rusting, what is rusting? When iron is exposed to air, it reacts with oxygen, it reacts with the water vapor present in air, and as a result, it forms rust, right? So students, that is all for this chapter, okay? So I'm sure you are clear with all the topics that we have discussed in lesson 6. Now students, we will start a new chapter, okay? We'll start a new chapter. So it is lesson 7, weather, climate, and adaptation of animals to climate. Okay? So you can all turn to page 68 to 79. So this is a new chapter. It is a very interesting chapter. So lesson 7, the name of the lesson is weather, climate, and adaptations of animals to climate. So once again, everyone, students, you turn to page 68. Okay? Now, students, everyone, I'm sure you are all familiar with this weather report. We see in the newspaper every day, right? We see in the newspaper. We also see in news. We see a weather report news, right? A weather forecast, and also students, even in radio, we get to hear, right? We see. Now, students, this weather report is very important because most of the activities are based on this weather report. Do you know who prepares this weather report? Do you know how important is this weather report? We'll all discuss in this chapter. Okay, we will discuss in this chapter. So students, in this chapter, we will learn about weather and climate. We'll see difference between weather and climate. Now, we have seen different climatic conditions, right? So we have animals in different places. So how do animals adjust themselves in those climatic conditions? So we'll discuss about that in this chapter. So I'm telling you, this chapter is going to be very interesting. So let's get started. So first, students, let's discuss about weather. Okay, weather. So students, in your lower class, we have learned about different types of weather condition, right? So students, what exactly it is this weather? So weather, it is a day-to-day condition of atmosphere. Okay, a day-to-day condition of atmosphere at a particular place. Okay, so let me repeat. Weather, it is a day-to-day condition of atmosphere. Okay, condition of atmosphere at a particular place with respect to temperature. Okay, with respect to rainfall, with respect to humidity, with respect to wind, because all this plays a very important role. Okay, so all this, now whatever we have discussed, I have given you that whether it is a condition of or it is a condition of atmosphere, right? With respect to the temperature, humidity, rainfall, and wind, right? Those four, these are the elements of weather. Okay, so they determine the weather. So students, now these four are the elements of weather. So you can note it down: temperature, humidity, rainfall, and wind speed. These four are the elements of weather: temperature, humidity, rainfall, and wind speed. Now students, weather, it is very, very important. And whether it is not fixed, it varies, it is unpredictable because it can change. It changes. Okay? So whether it is not fixed, it changes. And with respect to these four elements, that is temperature, humidity, rainfall, and wind speed, it is determined. Okay? Now students, see, this is a family enjoying a picnic, right? You can see. Now all this picnic, it happens in outdoors, right? So now picnic, it is possible only like when we have a good weather, right? But suddenly what will happen when there's a heavy rain? So students, we have a weather report, right? We have a weather report for future, for every hours, for every day, Clear. So from there we can check the weather condition, and from there we can decide. We can know how would be the weather condition tomorrow with the help of that weather report. And based on that, we can fix our activities. So likewise, a family picnic. If you are many people, many families, when they are planning for a picnic, they check the weather report. Okay? Because students, like I've said, weather, it is very, it changes. Clear. It is not fixed. It can change anytime. You have experience, right? These days, you have experience, especially during like daytime and all. It sometimes it rains suddenly, and then suddenly it is very sunny, right? So it is not fixed. Now, students, the next is an interesting football match. Now you can see here, how many of you like watching football match? Now you can see here, it is very exciting, right? We all love watching football. Now so all these matches are possible only when there is the weather condition is pleasant, the weather condition is good, right? So for all these type of matches, these are fixed based on the weather condition. Okay? Sometimes when you are watching football, when you are enjoying the match, and in between, if this happened, the match postponed. We all don't like, right? Suddenly there's a rain and then the match get postponed because of rain, right? So all these matches are also, it's not only football matches, it can be a tennis match, it can be a basketball, or any matches, any sport. It is fixed based on the weather condition, okay? So weather report you can see in the newspaper, you can hear in the radio, you can listen to the radio, you can watch news, weather forecast, and even in any, like these days we also have in the cell phone, right? So based on that, we can check the weather report for every hour. Okay, we can check the weather report for tomorrow, for next week. Clear. So students, we have seen how weather is very important, right? Now the next is this one. Even traveling, okay? For traveling, weather is very important, because if the weather is bad, if the weather condition is bad, traveling is not possible. Okay, the flight get cancelled. The flight get cancelled when the weather condition is bad. So dear students, here we have example, okay? So here we have a weather report. I've taken an example for our capital Kohima, okay? So we can see the weather report. This is we can see here, from 29 August till 11 September. So we know how the weather condition is going to be, okay? So we can see that in 29 August, it will be 21 degrees Celsius would be the maximum, and then the minimum would be 18 degrees Celsius, right? And then on September 4th, the maximum temperature would be 22 degrees Celsius, and the minimum would be 18 degrees Celsius, okay? Now, on 11 September, likewise, we know that the maximum temperature is going to be 24 degrees Celsius, right? We can know about the rainfall also. Okay, so this is an example of the weather forecast. Okay, so students, in the next class, we are going to discuss about the climate condition. Okay, we are also going to discuss about the adaptation of animals to different climatic conditions. Clear? So students, since this chapter, it is long, we have divided into different parts. So thank you students. See you in next class.